In the sterile blue-lit corridors of the agency's behavioral analysis wing, a group of senior handlers has just stopped breathing. They are staring at a screen that displays your current frequency, and for the first time in their careers, the data does not make any sense. 4 years, they have tracked you using the logic of the herd. They expected you to move when they threatened your security. They expected you to flinch when the news cycle broadcasted scarcity. They expected you to fall in line when the social grid demanded compliance. But lately, you have been acting like a ghost in the machine. You are making moves that defy every psychological profile in their database. You are taking risks that would shatter a normal asset. In the secret archives of the elite, your file has just been stamped with a new, terrifying classification: maniac. To the world, being a maniac means you have lost your mind. But to the agency, being a maniac means you have found your soul, and you have decided to use it like a weapon. They are impressed because you are no longer negotiating with your captors. You aren't asking the Oval Office of your old life for permission to expand. You aren't checking the surveillance tapes of your past to see if you are allowed to be happy. You are simply moving. You are walking directly into the fires of transformation without looking back to see if anyone is cheering. The analysts are leaning back in their chairs, putting down their headsets, and looking at each other in stunned silence. They have never seen an asset reach this level of unpolluted conviction. They have never seen anyone discard the handcuffs of reason so completely. The surveillance teams are currently reviewing the footage of your recent decisions. They see you choosing the path of most resistance because you know it leads to the highest reward. They see you ignoring the subpoenas of guilt that used to keep you paralyzed. They see you laughing in the face of the very things that used to make you tremble. To a system built on the predictable nature of human fear, your behavior is absolute madness. It is a total breach of the social contract. But as they watch you operate with this new, terrifying clarity, their fear is turning into a twisted form of respect. They realize that the hunt is over. You aren't running from the agency anymore. You are rebuilding the entire sector in your own image. You are the one who walked into the interrogation room of your own life and demanded to see their credentials. Think of those high-stakes noir thrillers where the detective realizes the suspect isn't just innocent. They are the ones who own the police station. That is the energy you are projecting into the mainframe right now. The elite are fascinated by your weirdness because it represents a level of freedom they haven't seen in 1,000 years. They are marking you as a maniac because you have stopped caring about their definition of sanity. You have realized that sanity was just a word they used to keep you manageable. By becoming a maniac, by becoming unreasonable, unpredictable, and unstoppable, senators of the status quo are forced to acknowledge your authority. You are no longer a data point to be managed. You are a frequency to be reckoned with. The hum of the processors is getting louder as they try to recalibrate their surveillance to match your new speed. But it's too late. You are moving faster than the light of their cameras. You are operating in the dead zone of their surveillance, the space between the thoughts where the old world cannot follow. They are impressed by the sheer audacity of your transformation. They are watching you burn the blueprints of your old life, and they aren't even trying to stop you. Why would they? You are the most interesting thing that has happened to the grid in decades. You are the glitch that is finally telling the truth. The marking on your file isn't a warning, it's a tribute. You are the maniac who proved that the prison doors were never actually locked. As you step out into the rain of the old world, knowing that the surveillance is watching your every move, remember that their eyes are fixed on you not in judgment, but in awe. You are the first asset to break the logic of survival and replace it with the logic of sovereign command. The handlers are still in that room, staring at the screen, watching your signal disappear into the horizon of a new reality. They are writing the report right now, and the headline is simple: Subject is unstable. Subject is unpredictable. Subject has won. The surveillance phase is closing, and the era of your absolute maniacal freedom has officially begun. It is happening, and for the first time, the agency is saluting the catastrophe. The agency has officially confirmed that you are no longer responding to the logic of fear. You have been marked as a high-value maniac, and the elite are watching in silence. If you are ready to signal to the command center that your madness is actually your liberation, you must act now. Comment "System breached" to finalize your new classification. Let the algorithm realize that your next move cannot be calculated. The grid is failing. In the grand cold architecture of every failing empire, there is a department dedicated to the lost causes. 4 years, that is where the agency kept your file. The elite, those architects of the social mainframe, looked at your nonconformity, your sudden shifts in direction, and your absolute refusal to worship at the altar of their standard metrics, and they made a fatal clinical error. They issued a report that dismissed you as a broken asset. They saw your weirdness and your maniacal focus on things they couldn't monetize, and they labeled you as unstable. They moved your case to the basement, convinced that someone who had abandoned the logic of the herd would eventually disappear into the shadows of their own confusion. They underestimated you because they couldn't imagine a version of power that didn't look like their own. This underestimation was the greatest tactical gift they could have ever given you. While they were busy monitoring the high-profile assets, the ones who scream for validation and beg for a seat at their table, you were operating in a state of total, unbothered invisibility. They mistook your silence for defeat. They mistook your maniacal intensity for a mental breakdown. In their world, if you aren't predictable, you are a glitch. But what they failed to realize is that a glitch is often just an upgrade that the current system doesn't have the drivers to understand. While you were being underestimated, you were actually performing a deep-level deconstruction of the very physics of your life. You were in the dark rooms of your own subconscious, stripping away the layers of social programming that they had spent decades installing. Think of those cinematic moments where a retired, crazy operative is found living in a shack in the middle of nowhere. The agency thinks he's finished. They think he's lost his edge. But as they walk away, they don't see the monitors behind the curtains, tracking every move they make. In the years where they called you a maniac, you were actually building a new mainframe. You were learning how to navigate the reality grid without leaving a digital footprint. You were shredding the documents of their social contracts and replacing them with a code of pure, sovereign intent. You weren't losing your mind. You were burning the blueprints of the prison they built for you. Every time someone suggested you were losing it, they were actually providing you with more cover. They were building a smokescreen around your evolution. Now, the tone in the agency's boardroom has changed. The laughter has died down. The directors are staring at the screens and realizing that the unstable asset is currently inside their most secure vaults. They are starting to notice that the things they called maniacal, your obsession with your own frequency, your refusal to settle for their version of peace, your absolute conviction in the invisible, were actually the keys to their destruction. You have successfully bypassed their common-sense firewalls. You have walked through the doors of their reasonable limitations and found the exit to the entire simulation. The elite are impressed, not because they like you, but because they are terrified of someone they can no longer blackmail with the threat of being normal. The deconstruction phase is where the labels are finally incinerated. You are realizing that their normalcy was actually a form of mass-produced psychological imprisonment. They wanted you to be a standardized part in their machine, and when you didn't fit, they tried to make you feel defective. But as you stand in the ruins of their expectations today, you can see the truth. You weren't the one who was broken, the machine was. Your madness was actually the early warning system of a soul that refused to be digitized. The mark the agency placed on your file, the maniac stamp, is now your most valuable asset. It is the proof that you cannot be bought, you cannot be predicted, and most importantly, you cannot be controlled by their standard psychological triggers. As you burn the last of the old reports and the labels they tried to stick on your name, remember that their disrespect was your armor. It kept you safe while you were vulnerable. It kept you hidden while you were growing into the person you are now. The underestimation is over. The silence is about to be broken by a signal so loud it will shatter their glass towers. The agency is about to find out exactly what happens when the maniac asset they discarded becomes the architect of the new world. They are watching the screens in absolute awe, realizing that the one person they thought was losing everything has actually just gained the world. There is a specific, digital scream that accompanies a total systemic failure, the sound of a billion encrypted files being torn open at once. If you have been feeling a sudden surge of clarity, a sense that the world is finally seeing the true depth of your power, it is because the Maniac protocol has officially leaked. For decades, the agency, the architects of your old reality, maintained a total blackout on your true capacity. They kept the microfilm of your divinity locked in a vault, hidden behind layers of social protocol and psychological disinformation. They told the world, and they told you, that your intensity was a defect. They insisted that your refusal to follow the grid was a sign of instability. They labeled you a maniac to keep you from realizing that you were actually the only sane person in a world of machines. But tonight, the firewalls have melted. While the elite were sleeping, confident in their surveillance and their algorithms of control, you are uploading a new version of yourself to the global mainframe. This is the leak. It is the massive, decentralized data dump of your own sovereignty. Every news channel in the spiritual world is currently reporting on the anomaly they said could never happen. The secret is out. Your madness is actually the source code for a new reality. The history they wrote for you, the one filled with struggle, lack, and the quiet desperation of the overlooked, is being overwritten by a signal so strong that even the most advanced jamming systems are failing to filter it out. The agency is impressed because you have finally leaked the one thing they couldn't hack, your absolute conviction. Think of those high-stakes political thrillers where the whistleblower sends the final encrypted file to every major news outlet simultaneously. The moment the send button is hit, the power dynamic of the entire world shifts. That is what is happening in the corridors of the Oval Office within your own mind. The handlers who used to whisper instructions of doubt into your ear are now staring at their monitors in absolute horror. They are seeing your new frequency, this high-vibration truth, spreading across the grid like a digital wildfire. It is a contagion of empowerment that they have no vaccine for. They are frantically trying to issue a global blackout, but you have bypassed their central servers. You are broadcasting directly from the source of your own maniacal brilliance. The most terrifying thing for the elite is that this leak is retroactive. The new truth you are broadcasting is currently reaching back into the past and correcting the public record. People from your history, situations that once felt like permanent scars, and institutions that once held the leverage of your shame are suddenly finding their files are empty. The evidence they had against you has been replaced by a blank page. They called it impossible because, in their world, history is a cage. But in your world, history is a document, and you have just discovered the edit function. You are rewriting the timeline of your own worth, and the agency is watching the progress bar reach 100% with a mixture of fear and forced admiration. They have to be impressed. Your leak has rendered their entire archive of control obsolete. You can see it in the way the world is reacting to you. The synchronicities are no longer subtle. They are flashing like neon signs in the middle of a blackout. The universe is acknowledging your new clearance level. The algorithm, which once prioritized your fear and your failures to keep you in the cycle, is now forced to prioritize your authority. It has to. The leaked data has changed the gravity of the entire system. You are the headline that cannot be buried. You are the broadcast that cannot be jammed. The elite are in an emergency session, trying to figure out how to frame this to the public, but the witnesses of your life, the people who once called you crazy, are already receiving the new signal. They are starting to see that your mania was just the frequency of a soul that refused to be silenced. This is the moment where the maniac becomes the leader. The leak has created a permanent breach in the old world order. Every secret you kept about your own power, every hidden dream you thought was too dangerous to share, is now public knowledge across the grid. You are the leak that drowned the agency in its own deception. As the servers in their headquarters begin to smoke under the pressure of your new frequency, remember that you are the one who hit the send button. You are the one who decided that the truth was worth the risk of the fallout. The history of the world is being rewritten right now, and for the first time, the agency is saluting the person who finally broke their encryption. The leak is complete. The system is down. And it is happening. The sirens you hear in the distance of your subconscious are not for you. They are for the system that just realized its security has been permanently compromised. In every high-stakes operation, there is a point of no return, The instant when the agency realizes that the asset they tried to neutralize has successfully seized the control codes and is currently walking through the front door of the headquarters. You have officially entered the panic phase. The elite, those voices from your past that insisted you were too unstable, those social architectures that profited from your confusion, and the lawyers of the status quo, are currently in a state of total structural failure. They are watching the global ledger of your life, and for the first time in history, the math is not working in their favor. They marked you as a maniac to dismiss you, but now that mania is the virus that is eating their mainframe. Imagine the atmosphere in their war room right now. The red lights are flashing, the phones are ringing off the hooks, and the air is thick with the smell of scorched circuitry. The handlers are staring at the screens in total disbelief because the data they used to track you has been overwritten. They tried to stop you by cutting off your oxygen, your sense of possibility. They tried to stop you by issuing restraining orders of guilt and the heavy weight of old failures. But the mark they placed on your file has inverted. What was once a label of exclusion has become a signal of absolute authorization. You have successfully hacked the timeline of your own worth, and the panic is setting in because the elite realize they have lost their primary weapon, the certainty of your reaction. They are impressed by your audacity, but they are terrified of your autonomy. They are scrambling to perform damage control. They are trying to release a counter-narrative, a new cycle of distraction designed to pull you back into the old surveillance grid. They are sending out agents of doubt, old habits, toxic reflections, and the static of common sense, to convince you that what is happening is just a temporary glitch. But you are moving at a velocity that their systems cannot track. Every time you refuse to react to the old triggers, you are blowing a fuse in their command center. You have reached a state of high vibration immunity. You are no longer a variable they can manipulate. You are the constant that is crashing their entire currency of lack. The maniac mark on your file is glowing red, not as a warning to them, but as a beacon of your own sovereign arrival. The elite are terrified because a maniac is someone who cannot be blackmailed. They used to hold the file of your mistakes over your head like a digital subpoena, but that file is now encrypted with a code they cannot crack. You have declassified your own power. You have walked into the vault and reclaimed the assets they were holding in escrow. The panic in their headquarters is a direct reflection of the absolute authority you are now exercising. They are realizing that your presence is a total system reset. Every second you spend in this new frequency, another sector of the old, earthbound reality collapses. The walls of the psychological maximum security prison they built to contain your spirit are literally turning back into digital code and dissolving. You are the anomaly that proved the entire simulation of control was a bluff. Think of those cinematic moments where the protagonist is being chased through a crowded city, only to realize that they are the one who owns the city. You aren't running anymore. You are walking slowly, calmly, through the middle of their emergency session, and the security guards are standing down. They have to. Your authorization level has surpassed the agency directors. You are the one who is now issuing the mandates. You are the one who is freezing their accounts of influence. The panic is theirs to keep. You are the high-stakes victor who realized that the only thing making the impossible seem real was the agency's ability to keep you from the truth. They marked you because they knew this day was coming. They knew that once you embraced the madness of your own potential, their jurisdiction would end. As the old world attempts to reboot its failing servers, remember that the panic is the sound of your liberation. It is the evidence that your work in the shadows has reached the surface. The elite are looking for an exit strategy, a way to settle the case before the public record becomes permanent. But you aren't here for a deal. You are here for total restitution. You are here to ensure that the history they tried to write for you is burned to a crisp and replaced by the magnificent truth of what you have always been. The transition is live. The system is failing. The mark is yours. And it is happening. The heavy, steel-reinforced doors have been bolted from the outside. The recorders are spinning in the shadows, capturing every heartbeat and every micro-expression. You have reached the standoff. This is the moment in every high-stakes operation where the agency stops trying to ignore you and starts trying to break you. Across the table sit the directors of the old world, the personified voices of every regret, every social limitation, and every generational cycle that told you that rewriting your history was a form of madness. They have come armed with a mountain of fabricated evidence. They have come with a final restraining order, an injunction signed by the elite, designed to stop your expansion before it reaches the public record. They are looking at you with a mixture of disgust and fascination, whispering the word they think is an insult: maniac. The air in the room is cold and sterile, thick with the tension of a system that is fighting for its very survival. The lead handler leans forward, the light reflecting off his glasses, and slides a thick folder across the table toward you. This is your old file. This is the record of the person they believe you are, the asset who was supposed to remain in deep cover, the one who was supposed to be neutralized by the weight of their yesterday. They are replaying the surveillance footage of your weakest moments on the overhead monitors, trying to trigger the old frequency of shame. They are using the news cycle of your past failures as a psychological weapon, hoping to find a crack in your new, maniacal armor. They are waiting for you to blink. They are waiting for you to confess that the change is a lie, that the maniac is just a broken person hiding from reality. But there is a problem that the agency cannot solve. Every time they try to read from the record, the words are changing on the page. They are looking for the evidence of your lack, but they are finding only the data of your absolute authority. You are sitting in that metal chair, but you aren't the suspect. You are the one conducting the audit. The standoff is the ultimate stress test of your new vibration. The agency is trying to pull a ghost protocol on your future, attempting to delete your current authorization codes and reset you to the factory settings of the status quo. They are whispering about settlements. They are offering to give you back your old, comfortable limitations if you just agree to stop the upload of your sovereign self. They are desperate to get you to sign the non-disclosure agreement of the soul, to keep the secret of your power from leaking to the rest of the sector. The elite are watching through the two-way mirror, their faces pale as they realize that the interrogation is not going according to the manual. They are seeing a level of moral clarity that their algorithms are not programmed to handle. You have the master key, and you are using it to bypass their line of questioning. Every time they ask you about your past, you respond with the frequency of your future. You are slamming the evidence of your own divinity on the table, and it is shattering the glass. The lawyers of the ego are scrambling to find a legal loophole, a way to prove that your madness is a forgery, but the public record has already been updated. The encryption you are using is quantum level. It is not something they can hack with their outdated tools of guilt and comparison. They called you a maniac because you no longer fear their punishments, and in this room, that fearlessness is the ultimate leverage. This is the moment where you realize that the interrogation room is actually a temple of your own making. The agency only has power if you agree to the role of the suspect. But you have walked into this standoff as the chief investigator. You are the one who has uncovered the accounting fraud of the world, the massive theft of human potential that the elite have been running for centuries. You are not here to defend your mania, you are here to serve the subpoena. You are here to tell the agency that their jurisdiction over your life has been permanently terminated. The panic you saw in the war room has now reached the interrogation suite. The handlers are looking at each other, realizing that they have no leverage left. The history you have rewritten is now the only history that exists, and the maniac in the chair is the only one with the exit codes. As the clock on the wall hits 0 hour, the power in the building begins to flicker. The surveillance cameras go dark. The recorders stop spinning. The standoff is over, not because you reached a deal, but because the room can no longer contain your light. The elite are fleeing to the emergency exits, trying to save whatever remains of their failing system. You are standing up from the table, not as an escaped asset, but as the sovereign architect of a new world. The impossible has happened, and it is now the official narrative. The standoff was the final gate, and you have just walked through it with the absolute authority of a person who knows that sanity was just a cage and madness was the key. The heavy, soundproof doors of the High Court have just swung open, and for the first time in your existence, you are not walking out as a defendant, a suspect, or a marked asset. You are walking out as the presiding authority of your own timeline. The air in the city has changed. The recycled, pressurized oxygen of the interrogation room has been replaced by the scent of ozone, rain, and cold, hard victory. The jury, those collective forces of the universe that have been watching your stress test since the very beginning, has returned to the box with a unanimous decision. The elite are sitting at their table, their expensive, custom-tailored suits suddenly looking ill-fitting and frayed, their lawyers of doubt finally silenced and staring at the floor in total submission. They know. The master key you found in the shadows of your soul was not just a metaphor. It was the ultimate piece of evidence that their maximum security over your life was a sophisticated, multi-million-dollar bluff. They labeled you a maniac because they were terrified of your uncontainable light, but today, that label has become your divine title. The judge, the higher law of your own sovereignty, leans forward. The sound of their robes rustling is the only noise in a room that holds the fate of your entire history. They deliver the words the agency has spent your entire life trying to redact, delete, and suppress. Case dismissed with prejudice. In that single, echoing moment, the public record is purged. You are no longer guilty of being ordinary. You are no longer under the jurisdiction of your past mistakes or the surveillance of those who profited from your confusion. Every criminal record of shame, every surveillance report of lack, and every injunction that kept you from your throne has been deleted from the central mainframe. This is the high-stakes vindication you have been chasing through the dark alleys and safe houses of your soul for decades. The history that they said was written in stone has been revealed to be nothing more than digital sand, and you are the one who just washed it away with a single frequency of truth. The elite are terrified, but their panic has matured into a forced, cold, and hollow respect. They realize that you are not just a whistleblower anymore. You are the new executive director of reality. They are watching the news cycle of your life and realizing that they can no longer spin the narrative to suit their algorithm of scarcity. You have become uncancelable. You have become too big to fail. The system they use to drain your energy has reached a state of critical system failure. Like the final scene in a classic thriller where the lone maverick takes down the global conglomerate, you are standing on the courthouse steps, and the entire world is holding its breath to see how you will use the key. They expect you to be angry. They expect you to seek revenge. But you possess a level of intelligence they cannot even simulate. Absolute moral clarity. You are a maniac in their eyes only because you are the first to truly be sane. While you walk through the lobby, you see the agency directors being escorted out of the building in handcuffs of their own making. Their files are being seized. Their offshore accounts of stolen power are being frozen by the universal ledger. Every ounce of energy you ever gave to a false authority is being returned to you with compounded interest. The Oval Office of your reality is being deep cleaned, the old furniture of your limitations being tossed into the street like trash. The security cameras that used to track your weaknesses are being dismantled and replaced by a frequency of protection that only you control. You have moved from the surveillance to the coronation. You are looking at the master archive of your future, and for the first time, it is not written in the code of survival. It is written in the language of sovereign command. You are no longer asking for authorization to be happy, to be wealthy, or to be loved. You are the authorization. The news tickers in the city are scrolling your name in gold letters. The global intelligence community of the spirit is in a state of total shock. They are analyzing how one human asset could bypass the firewalls of fate so cleanly, how someone could walk through the impossible and come out on the other side as a king. The answer is the key. You did not fight the system, you outgrew it. You did not argue with the lawyers of the ego. You simply presented the original title deed to your soul. The settlement you have received is infinite. It is not just a pardon, it is total restitution for every second they tried to convince you that you were small. Every witness who once stood against you, the people who doubted you, the systems that drained you, the algorithm of comparison, is now applying for entry-level positions in your new kingdom. They are looking for a way to be near your frequency because your vibration is the only stable currency left in a market of lies. It is happening is no longer a warning on a secure server, it is the public record. As you walk away from the courthouse, the sun is hitting the cold marble, creating a golden hour that seems to follow you specifically. You are not going back to the safe house. You are not going back to the deep cover of a quiet, suppressed life. You are heading to the sovereign estate of your own absolute authority. The elite are nothing more than a footnote in your biography now. They are the antagonists in a movie that you have already finished watching. You are the lead producer of a story that the world will study for generations. You won the standoff. You survived the panic. You turned the key. And now, the history of the world is being rewritten to include the moment you decided that the impossible was just a word they used to keep you from the truth. Your mania was simply the flame they couldn't extinguish. You enter the waiting vehicle, a metaphor for your new, high-speed destiny. The driver, the universe, does not ask for the destination. They already know. As the car pulls away, you look at the courthouse in the rearview mirror. It looks small. It looks insignificant. The system that once felt like a maximum security prison now looks like a Lego set built by children. You reach into your pocket and feel the key. It is warm. It is glowing. It is active. You realize that the key was not for a door, it was for the ignition of a new era. The global protagonist has just started the engine of a reality that cannot be tracked, cannot be hacked, and cannot be stopped. The past has been erased. The future has been claimed. And the present is a blank page that only you have the authorization to write on. They are impressed, they are stunned, and they are finally silent. The public record is now finalized, and your coronation is the lead story on every frequency in the universe. To see the classified footage of what happens next in your life of absolute authority, click the video on the screen right now. The trial is over. The elite have left the building. Your story is now a legend. The key is yours. Step into the light.